Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Shauna from Created and Made, and today I'm going to show you how I took the pattern and texture off of these baskets that I found stuck in the back of my closet and turned them into these beautiful handmade watercolor paper art journals. Fun stuff ahead. Stay tuned. Okay, let's jump right in. I am starting off with my Play-Doh, of course, because I am obsessed with this method and this technique. I'm starting off with my Play-Doh so that I can pull these patterns and prints off of the baskets without having to try to stick them in paint. No baskets were damaged in the making of this video. So all I do is I spread out my Play-Doh as you saw. I cut it down to a 5x7 just so it's the size of the plate that I'm going to be using, and then I used my the palm of my hand to simply smash it into the basket, and I got an impression. Now I am going in here with my huge 12x14 inch gel plate, and I'm just going to make one large sort of print off with this pattern from this particular basket. Now, I was being a little too precious when I started this, and I kept peeking at it to see if it was transferring, but I was being super gentle, and it was starting to irritate me that it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, so I just started smacking it, and I ended up getting something that I was happy with. I mean, it wasn't in sort of evenly textured print, meaning some places, as you can see on the plate, took off more paint than others, but that was just a function of the way I was sort of doing this patty method that I was doing. But I ended up with something that I found interesting, and I went on ahead and kept it, and now I'm gonna try to pull the print with these rainbow neon paints from Meeden, which I absolutely love these paints. I realize I've been overdoing the neons lately, but I'm just enamored with some of them, and I think it's just a really easy and cool way to get that sort of pop of bright color. Now I have spread out my rainbow, and I'm going and pulling the print up with a piece of mat board, I believe. Because I know I'm going to be making journal covers with these, I used a thicker piece of substrate to pull the print. Now the thing with this mat board though, part of the cover, mat board is just thick layers of paper pressed together, and the top layer of the mat board was pulling off. That's why I had that little boo-boo there that I just touched, where it kind of ripped a little bit. But that's the beauty of making your own journal covers, is that I can cut that out if I don't want that part in the final product, which I do not. And so I'm going over this with my spray on Mod Podge in glossy finish, and I'm not spraying it because it doesn't spray anymore. The spray is the nozzle is clogged, much like gloss sprays like Dina Wakley's. The nozzle clogs if you don't take care of it, and I did not take care of it, so I am painting it on, and it turned out really well. Like, I like that glossy finish. It didn't have any brush marks or anything. So now I'm creating the second basket print with my Play-Doh method, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with the first one. I'm spreading out my paint, which is a Payne's Gray from Arteza, and on my 12x14 inch gel plate, and I'm going to make a big print of this pattern as well. Same method as before. I am not being as precious with this one as I was with the last one, and I'm getting a really cool impression off of these baskets. I just really liked how they came out. I mean, just stuff I didn't even really know I had these baskets, to be honest, because one of them has some guest towels that I didn't even know were in there, and the other one holds my swimwear, which I don't pull out swimwear that much. So I didn't really know I had these baskets, and I pulled them out because I was rearranging some things, and I was like, would you look at that? Look at those patterns. Now, what you see me doing here is I am doing a sort of a roll off onto an 8x10 plate because I planned on using that 8x10 print for another project, which I did. So that's why I was bringing off like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this print, and it came out pretty darn perfect. I really do like the Meeden brand on Amazon of paints, not just the neons. They have other paints, and it's a pretty good, middle of the road quality paint. But the price is pretty inexpensive for the level of paint that it is and the colors that you get. See how that Mod Podge just looks so beautiful? Like the sheen, it was really perfect. Anyway, so I'm going on to my first set of prints with this chalk pencil, which don't do this because it ended up not even coming off. I used this pencil, I think it's pastel pencil. I used it because I thought it would just rub away after I was done, and it really didn't. Like, I was surprised. But I'm going in with a sort of a cutout that is the size of the journal covers I'm going to be using. Now I'm cutting these covers to be what was the size? 4 1/8 by 6 1/4, so that can have some extra space around the cover that is a little bit bigger than the paper that's going to be going inside, which is a 4x6 piece of watercolor paper. So 4 1/4. No. Ignore that. 4 1/8 by 6 1/4 is the size that I'm cutting these covers down to, for anyone who is following along. Now I made that little cutout of the cover size so that I could sort of run it around the page and see which part of the pattern I actually wanted to keep. So I cut all that out. I ended up with all those leftovers that I can use in other projects. And now I'm just doing the same thing with the second pattern, except I'm cutting one of these to be a 5x7 paper. So that cover size is a 5 1/8 by 7 1/4, and that is going to be used again with 5x7 paper. So what I'm going to end up with is 3 4x6s and 1 5x7. That's what I could fit on the 2 boards that I pulled. So now you're seeing me. I pulled out my giant Carl rotary cutter, and I'm cutting down some Strathmore watercolor paper, 140-pound watercolor paper, and the sheet size is, I believe, 18 by 24. So I'm cutting it down all down to 4x6 from 18 by 24, and that's what you see me doing here. Now this cut, obviously everybody doesn't have this gigantic sort of rotary cutter, but if you're in the market for a rotary cutter, the Carl brand is really great, and I will link it in the description. And what I've pulled out now is my cinch. I don't know if anyone has a cinch machine, but this is what I use to make sort of wire bound books. And what I'm doing now is just punching the holes into the watercolor paper, as you can see there. And now I need to punch the holes in the covers. Oh, I'm showing you guys that I actually gessoed the inside of the cover, so it's it can be personalized with a white gel pen or something like that. I just wanted to make the edges and the inside of the cover sort of a clean slate. And I am also rounding the corners, which I probably should have done before I gessoed everything, but you're seeing me touch up those corners with a Pro Sharpie in black. So I ended up rounding the corners on everything, the paper and the covers, and now I'm just punching out the covers as well. Because the covers are slightly larger than the paper, you can't really follow the directions that the cinch gives you for the paper punching. You kind of have to adjust it so that the holes end up in the same place as they do on the paper. And that's why I showed you guys my test sheet. I always do a test sheet before I punch a cover, just so I can make sure that all the holes will be where they should be. Now I'm pulling out my binding coils, which I actually bought in bulk. I will link where I got them in the description below. But this is a 1-inch binding coil that's a 2-to-1 pitch. So when you're buying loose binding coils, you need to know the pitch of them, and this one is 2-to-1. It's a 1-inch size, which is larger than I would normally use for a book of this size, but because of it's going to be used as an art journal, I am giving it a little room to expand, because I know art journals can be, they can start to grow when you start to use them. And so what you see me doing here is putting the book together. You put the pages in first. I ended up with 22 pages in the 4x6 and 25 pages in the 5x7. But you put the pages in first, and then you put the cover on, front cover first, and then the back cover goes on backwards, so that when you close it, it's in the right orientation. You saw me trying to figure that out for a second. I got confused. My cinch has a broken piece at the top. That's why you see me going in with a wrench. Yeah, I broke the little turning handle that you adjust based on the size of the book that the coil that you're using. And I actually, you can see how I punched that one in. It closes up really cool. And everything is where it should be, and that is how it turned out. So I think I'm going to actually show you one more, just so you can see the process again. You put the coil on. There are some hooks on the edge of the cinch that you might not be able to see from this angle, but you just hang the binding coil on the hooks, and you put everything on. Put the back cover on backwards, and then you press it down so that it closes up those binding coils, and you end up with a nicely bound, beautiful book or art journal, however you want to use it, but it has art journal paper inside of it. So here is the final versions of all 4 books and how they came out. Like I said, 3 of them are 4x6s, and other one is a 5x7. I'm going to keep one of the 4x6s for myself, but the other 3 are going to be available for purchase in my Etsy shop. So if you're interested, go ahead and check the description, and you will find a link over there. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please hit that like button, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I hope to see you guys next time, and in the meantime, keep creating and making. Bye bye.